Grand Rising, Seekers of Truth and Arcane Knowledge. I am your Brother Magh. I want to do a quick listening party. So, figured we'd jam out together. I could talk a little bit about the album and give you a little bit of background on what's going on. So, I started this project a while back, a few years ago now. I was going to just run with my, at the time, current stage name, Reverend Mayhem, but came across some spiritual stuff and decided that that name just needed to go bye-bye. And I represented a lot of negative aspects of my life that I was trying to get away from. So, Magh was created. The first album, I gotta say, yeah, I lost it myself. Was actually amidst a bunch of turbulence in my life, as far as like discovering who I am, and got to cover a lot of things in that first album. Healed a lot. That particular album was also the first time in like 5 years that I had written anything, and it was also the first time that I actually played all the instruments instead of hiring somebody for solos or hiring somebody for drums or doing drum machine. I actually physically played all the instruments, so it was the first of a lot of things. You know, the first album covered a lot of my journey in developing, my identity as to who I was, who I am. Learning, learning to be okay with who I am. Fast forward to this project. This is Dreamtime, Protocol 1111. Now, the Dreamtime is a shared shamanic belief that there's a reality that runs parallel to this reality, and in the Dreamtime, that's the real world. Whereas here, it's a construct. Coming out with this album was basically like you're gonna hear a lot of like digital skips and stuff, and it's kind of like my showing like the computer matrix side of things. Now, without further ado, this is supposed to be these are the Dreamtime. It's an area of space-time which exists in no time. I always like doing spoken words. It is a veil, a thin line, a back door that combines our universal conscious. There is also the abyss, a void of devoided bliss. Dark, empty emptiness, which exists in the swamp. Sorry. The Dreamtime, space between dimensions, offers a gathering place for our ascension. I've turned off my headphones. Countdown. This is called arms. This is a battle. Every time you get the skip, the music changes. This is an awakening of all the sleeping lions. If you can hear my voice, you are one of us. May the bird of thunders echo its clap from our side. Command function. Execute. Protocol 1111. So I wanted to do like a computer command, like a vocal computer command to kick the album off. And this is supposed to be like a chaos in the ether. And it's like forming and shaping, and it comes down to like one single burst of anger, which is the changing, defining moment. The driving force forward. Now there's structure, now there's groove, and there's stops and peaks and valleys. So while I'm forming all this anger, mind you, these are old songs. These are old songs that I felt had a something to say now for me personally. So even the lyrics kind of convey what's going on here. See how the vocal changed after the skips? So the skips are kind of like a skipping in dimensions, like skipping it through a reality and into another reality. That's why the music changes. Oh, I loved putting the bass drops in this. It was so fun. I wrote this song in 2007. It's crazy to think. It's another symbolic passing of time, I guess. So it's like a rejection. Turn my face, turn to look away. Then I reach my hand, try to understand. That's like an understanding of like a need to know. I'm left alone. The anger explodes again. It's very emotional. So, musically speaking, you know, from where this comes from, what place this has in the album, it's like an awakening of anger, an awakening because there's something wrong, and then figuring out what's wrong and why am I like this? You know, then the anger subsides, and you try to focus in and hone in on those things that are just, you know, eating at you. Always been fond of the story of Icarus. There's a frustration here of just a little fucking help, you know? This skip does drag out a little bit, but that was just the vocal skip. Whenever the music skips, that's when the music changes. Use a lot of diminished heartbeat. So talking about screaming in the deaf ears, like just needing to be heard while they painstakingly carry this weight. I want to get a visual sound of all that effects and stuff. Ether. This is one of my favorite songs when I wrote it. I mean, this song is lasted forever for me. Actually, So I thought a long time about how I wanted to sing the vocals in this, and I'm glad I did the lower register, because then I could do these vocal harmonies. It's the first time I really got to play with that. So the song is called It's Over. It's kind of like the ending of pain, the ending of anger, the ending of just like understanding that like you can no longer fool me. You whatever you bring to the table now, I see your bullshit. I hear the skip and the music change there. And this is the verse that ties it all back together to talk about how like, desolation, like, okay, we're done. The cycle is done. It's over. Where do I begin? It's over. How do we get started? Like, how do we move from here? How do we get going again? I'm so tired of being here. It's a Ten of Wands, really. It's a bittersweet ending. You know, it's painful. It's relieving. Knowing that the cycle is done is kind of, you know, comes back into this peacefulness. This is another song I wrote in 2007, actually. Back to the ether, journeying through the space-time to arrive at our next destination. I had a lot of fun doing all that, like, between the track parts. Like, it was cool. I like playing with effects and stuff, moves. So this is called puppet strings. This is kind of discovering who the master of my anger was. There's a lot of sub-bass harmonies. Originally the line was, he says, call me master when jerking at my puppet strings, but I figured it'd be a little sexier if I made it she. Let's talk about changing dimensions. The idea of getting better than the day you were yesterday. Climbing that Jacob's ladder, you know. always like to give a lot of thick imagery. You know, pulling my head from the swamp and shaking off the disease, like all this gross, nasty shit. You know, like you've been just underwater for so long and murky shit, and you just finally get to pull your head up and go, yeah, and catch a glimpse of what's going on. It's like leaving Plato's, Plato proposed the cave concept. People born and living in a cave would never know what the outside world looks like, would just know the shadows and vermin. Kind of like that. I'm so glad I got to play solos on this. That's been making me so happy. Never used to be a solo guy. Profit and profit. Back to the ether. It's a little shorter on this one. Now this was the only new track that was on this actual album. Like this is the only like new song that I wrote. It's a little rough around the edges, but it's kind of like I started it, and then I realized how many problems I was having with writing. So I went back and just recorded the old songs just to kind of get my feet back in the game. So it's kind of like discombobulated a little bit here and there, but it's called The New Home. I was actually homeless when I started writing this. Really wanted to overemphasize the point of I need a fucking break. I've had enough. Like, you know, no matter how tough I seem, no matter how hard it seems, no matter how together I seem, it's one of those things where, like, at a certain point, I gotta stop. Even all the guitars by this point in the album are like really heavily chorused. all the I mean, you know, prior to this, the album before, I was trying to figure out how to do like soundscapes as opposed to like just straight instrumentation. And this album, I think I kind of nailed the process. You know, the guitars are really heavily chorused and stuff, but they fit into the melody. And there's a lot of like ambient guitar noises that are happening at the same time. Wish I would have made the guitar a little clearer on here. The solo work actually was pretty good. I mean, for my personal opinion on my personal work, not my greatest song, but this song birthed a lot of like techniques and stuff that I'm going to be using for the next few albums, which, by the way, are already written. So we reached the last leg of our journey. Just love that violin, that solo violin. It's enveloped. This next one is a spoken word as well. It's called Back to Center. And now, the funny part about this is, like, I called it Back to Center. Like, there's always a working title whenever. There's a lot of skips in this one. I'll shut up. Okay, I think it's done. So, yeah, so I wrote, this is all like just a quick jam that I did just because I knew I wanted to do a spoken word over music. But I was always coming back to this center point in the fretboard. So I just called it Back to Center because it was easier to, you know, remember the aspect of the song, how I wrote it. But then it ended up becoming the final title for the song. I want to bring this back to center, like finding myself, finding my center, finding my peace. I'll shut up again if you don't, after the spoken word starts, because this is super interesting in my opinion. Really what it is the concept of me facing my ego and like actually like coming to grips with like I don't need you, you know? So me and my ego argue. Final skip.
Let's come to this. Forgiveness, sadness. But it passes. We're so told. To behold, a feet so full resonates across the globe. Not even sure the sadness is mine. So divine, so exquisite. Why visit this holy place to pivot my emotions?
acknowledgement.
You whore, you swore to stay true to you. Until your lies started becoming true. You knew. We always did get. But you're tired, and this is too big. Plus, you're practically dead. I hate you. It's okay, dude. But I gotta do what I can't do. Command function. Cease protocol. Shadow volume. Cease protocol. Ego mirror. Cease protocol. World war. Cease protocol. Terror. Cease protocol. Oppression. Cease protocol. Brother Magh. Execute protocol. Electrical.
And we end on the same command as we began. Cycles. Thanks everybody who made it this far. Much love to all of you.